We know that there is no perfect justice in the world, and Italy is not an exception. Less than a century ago, it condemned Alcide de Gasperi, one of its most brilliant, later on known prime ministers, to 4 years in jail. Broke his health, broke a great part of his spirit, and sent him to reclusion. Later on, de Gasperi went on and formed NATO, and he formed the European Union, and he brought justice to his citizens after having fought fascism for long years and having been persecuted. Well, Italian justice is going through such a second period. It is condemning a man who, like de Gasperi, went out to only do good in his life, and his name is Stephan Schmidheiny. And you probably don't know him as well as the name of de Gasperi for a very simple reason. He never put his name on anything that he did. All the good things he did, he called it Avina or Vita Trust, Trust for Life, or Fundus, to fund the poor. I am one of the guys who have been benefited by Schmidheiny. Schmidheiny came and helped us in Peru when we were fighting the Shining Path. We were trying to find a substitute for coca so that the farmers could do something that didn't feed the narcotics industry. This is not an easy task facing the possible consequences of running against cartels. Yet Schmidheiny funded us and helped us strategize. And we found substitutes for coca, and we beat the Shining Path. He then went on to create the World Summit for helping create sustainable development, the Rio Summit, and then went on to create all the big firms, all the big conglomerates of the world, and created the Business Council for Sustainable Development, trying to convince them that really certain products, like the one that he had been involved in, like asbestos, was actually harmful to people's health. He inherited a firm that produced construction materials with asbestos, and he left it. He was the first one to leave that industry, something he had inherited. And he substituted it and left it way before countries even condemned the use of asbestos. And now he's being condemned in an Italian court that obviously doesn't have that background, in spite of the fact that the reason that justice is globalized is to make sure that you put things in context. This is a sad time for justice, and it's a sad time for Italian justice. But I am sure that because justice is not only formed by judges and courts and lawyers, but also by people's feelings the way it was in de Gasperi's time, that many of us will rise to protest for this injustice. The injustice of having condemned a man who has tried to do nothing but good, who has turned everything possible around to save people's lives, and who has been unjustly sentenced by a justice that I hope will have the time to correct and make amends. I vote now that we all go out and find a way of protecting Stephan Schmidheiny, because the fact that a good man has been condemned when so many capitalists in the world have done misdeeds and are still loose and free, the one person who has done good has been unjustly sentenced. All of us should do something about that, because it is a bad example for humankind.